consistent 7-day-a-week service. And so, I know I'm telling you guys that this is better, but I'm gonna show you a few examples of how this is better.
Thank you.
So if you live at 49th Street and 15th Ave South, just a few blocks up the road from here, and you worked at Distant Plaza at 49th and 38th, or you were just trying to get to Publix for grocery shopping, at a weekday at 9 in the morning, when our peak service is running, it would take you 52 minutes and a transfer to take the bus from 15th Avenue South and 49th Street to that Distant Plaza. We didn't have a direct route just running all the way to 49th Street. In this new network, we have a single route running from 18th Avenue South all the way up to Largo Transit Center on 49th Street. That turns into from a 52-minute bus ride and a transfer to a single bus ride in 19 minutes. If you live in Roser Park in St. Pete and you work at the Lowe's on 22nd Avenue South, first of all, we couldn't get you to work on Sundays because our bus route on 22nd Avenue North, I'm sorry, I said South. We couldn't get you to work on Sundays because our bus route on 22nd Avenue North didn't run. And if you were working the rest of the week, it was like a 50-minute bus ride and a 4 or 5 block walk instead of a route to actually get you to work. Now, in the new network, if you live in Roser Park, you can take that Route 49 and connect to a time transfer in downtown St. Petersburg, and that bus route will take you to work 7 days a week on 22nd Avenue North. And that goes from a 53-minute trip, if you could get to work, to a 33-minute trip with a time transfer. If you live in South St. Pete on 18th Avenue South, and you take the bus up North 49th Street, like a lot of our riders do, to that industrial area up there working, you had an hour-and-a-half bus ride at 8 in the morning. Actually, an hour and 40-minute bus ride at 8 in the morning. And you also had to transfer at Grand Central, and those routes don't line up. It's a longer transfer as well. Now it's a single bus from 18th Avenue South all the way up to that industrial area on 49th Street North. And you can get there in 50 minutes instead of an hour and 40 minutes. This is another trip that it might seem pretty unbelievable, but I personally talked to a rider who was working at HCA Largo, and she took 3 bus routes to get to Tampa to connect to Tampa's transit. And she would ride 4 hours every single day to get to and from work at HCA Largo. Her trip was 3.5 hours just in Pinellas County system, and 3 bus routes. We've got her trip in Pinellas County down to an hour and 50 minutes with a time transfer at Park Street Terminal. We have one route running from downtown Clearwater all the way to Tampa 7 days a week now. So if you're coming from Tampa and you work in Pinellas County, it's a long ride, but we got a bus route that can get you, you can connect to Hart, and we got a bus ride that can get you into Pinellas County to get to work. And this is, you couldn't make this trip on Sundays before, and this bus route would stop running at about 6 o'clock on Saturdays. It runs later on Saturdays now till about 8, and it's running 7 days a week. So, I think with those examples, I've personally been at Grand Central every day for the last 2 weeks, the week before we did the change, and all week last week, and I was there this morning. I've been there for 9-10 hours a day talking to people about the changes, trying to help people, because this is a massive change. I heard from one lady, she said, I've been riding the same bus stop my mom rode for 30 years, riding the same route, transferring at the same spot to the same bus, and you're telling me you're changing my bus stop. And all I could say is, yes ma'am, we are. It's a lot of change, but the vast majority of people that I talk to, when I walk them through their new trips and learn how to use the new system, because it's such a jarring change at first, a lot of people want to get to Grand Central because they think they have to connect to Grand Central. But as I'm walking people through their trips, their connection point is downtown St. Pete now with a time transfer instead of Grand Central. Or they can connect to the Spark service that runs up and down 34th Street South. All our bus routes on the south side that run east-west, they all cross 34th Street South. And we have stations at all of those major crossings. With that route running every 15 minutes, 7 days a week. So I'm not gonna say that nobody's lost service. There are definitely people I've talked to who have worse trips, who we're getting them signed up for some of the PSTA programs that we have. But as someone who's been talking to the riders nonstop, there's a lot of people who are happy about that consistent 7-day-a-week service. A service that can get them to work and get them home anytime they gotta be there. people are really happy about that. Improved Sunday service, the better connections, and a simpler network design. I think one of the problems that we saw is that each individual route kind of served its own distinct community, and it would wind and waddle its way around through the margins of that community that have been there for 50, 60, 70 years. And then you add another one on top of it, and another one on top of it, and another one on top of it, and you just have like a bunch of intersecting lines, and they're all doing their job. They're serving the communities that they had been serving for a while, but over time, it starts to get really duplicative and inefficient as a service. And I think we saw that with constrained weekend service. Because of a lot of that duplication, we couldn't run service 7 days a week because it was so costly. So it is a lot of changes. It is absolutely jarring for people, and I've heard that, but there's also a lot of good for people. And so I think with that, I'm happy to take any questions. If you have anywhere you would like us to speak, if you have people personally who are affected who want to know how to use their new bus route, I can call them myself and help them through their new trip.
What about the spark lightning car?
See, I should have brought some of those. So the Spark Lightning Card program, that is on 34th Street South, and our marketing department partnered with some businesses to give out discounts at those select locations. I'm gonna have some cards for you guys next time. I'll come back in December with some cards. I forgot about that. That's my fault.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have a question and a comment. So what's your name again?
Devin.
Okay. So Devin, what's your last name?
Deal.
Okay. So there was a few things that you said. Now I've been riding PSTA for about 10 years now. Forcibly. I really didn't want to be riding PSTA. But do you know the history of PSTA and how it got founded?
The merger.
Do you know how it got founded?
I know that they merged with the St. Pete Transit Agency. They merged to create PSTA in like 1984 through legislation, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And then before that, how did it get founded? Did you know?
A lot of it was streetcars.
Yeah. So Elder Jordan started our local transit system with 10 buses, he and his son. So the transit system was started by the Black community. And right now, with the changes that have been made, it's not serving the Black community very well. I'm just gonna be honest with you. My son used to take the Route 11 from Pinellas Point, which is a lot of middle class and upper class Black people. And Roy Hanna was a stop for the 11, the 20, and number 4, route number 4, okay? Route 11 would take all of those children in that area to PTA. It would also, Route 11 also services 22nd Avenue North that you're speaking of, all the way out to Shira Drive. So Route 11 runs on Sunday. So if you're saying that the service has been expanded because number 23 runs on Sunday, 23 is not the only bus, and 34 also hits 22nd Avenue North, okay? So that's one thing I wanted to just put out there to get crystal clear, because most people don't ride the bus, so they don't know. Another thing is this: people coming from, you're talking about people coming from Rosa Parks, and you're trying to make things less complicated for them. And people in Largo, you're trying to make things less complicated for them at the expense of Route 7, 15, 11, and 14, and 22, okay? That are very frequent traveling bus routes in South St. Petersburg. Now, I want you to couple this also, because 14 runs every 27 to 30 minutes, and it always has. Now, that route goes through the Black community, also hits the hospitals, okay? So that's one route that has been taken out and goes straight down 18th Avenue. Also, bus 7, it goes from downtown to Tyrone and goes through the Black community. It actually goes down the Deuces. It's one of the only ones that goes down the Deuces, along with 15 that went down the Deuces. What crosses the Deuces, rather. So long story short, what you're saying sounds good. And I cannot believe that you've been working on this since 2023, with our tax dollars, and you said state dollars too, and you have 0 markers out for any of these buses that you're talking about that you made changes with. Nobody knows where to catch the buses. So I don't know where your consensus is that's telling you that they're happy that you made these changes and they're able to get to work. Because most of the people that I have seen on these buses are scrambling, don't know where the bus stops are because there are 0 markers out for Route 9A, 9B, for Route 4A, 4B, and the list goes on. Route 66, nobody knows. Route 49, nobody knows. Now, if you've been working on this since 2023, at least a year ago, as you added new routes, you should have already been giving out schedules. As you've been adding new routes, we should have seen markers out on the roads for these new routes. That is not so. Our PSTA system is not meant for the wealthy and their buddies to have middle class and working class people funneled to their businesses via AKA the lightning card on our dime. People need to go where they need to go. This is not MapQuest, where you route people where you want them to go to see the businesses that that you want them to see, and ride past the neighborhoods that you want them to ride past. So I really suggest, because I have already made a complaint to the Florida Department of Transportation regarding this absolute disgrace. And I mean that. So I really suggest that you guys take a closer look at how lives are being affected, how people are being displaced, because these people are depending on this system to get where they need to go.
Okay, I can respond to some of that. if you
Sure.
want me to, yeah. So, the 7 and the 15, we know those were background routes in South St. Pete. We did not remove service from 15th Avenue South, or 28th Street, or 31st Street with those routes. Those were replaced by the 9A and the 9B. And I will tell you, I very much agree with you that it's confusing. The navigation is very confusing. The signs aren't changed, and they absolutely should be. You are completely correct on that. I very much agree with you. The Route 9 is what's replacing the 7 and the 15 in South St. Pete. So if someone caught the 7, they should be catching the 9B, and if they caught the 15, they should be catching the 9A in South St. Pete. Those routes will still connect them from Grand Central to downtown St. Petersburg. They can get the Bayfront Hospital and other places of employment down there. And that route now also goes all the way up to Gateway Mall. On 18th Avenue South, that was the 14. You are completely right. That was another backbone route of South St. Pete. That route did run every 30 minutes. The route that replaced it runs every 30 minutes. From downtown St. Petersburg, it goes down Martin Luther King to 18th Avenue South and runs 18th Avenue South all the way to 49th Street. So 40 blocks on 18th Avenue South, that route is running. And it takes 49th Street north all the way to Pinellas Park and Largo Transit Center, connecting riders from South St. Pete who were taking the 52 to get up to work there. And there's a lot of them who now have a one-seat ride on the 49. We have Route 24 still covering 22nd Avenue South, the route that goes to Pasadena now. And then that 34, the Spark service running up and down 34th Street South, is specifically to make it easier for people to transfer from those South St. Pete routes and move north-south easier. Roy Hanna, I believe you were talking about Route 11 and Roy Hanna, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We did move that transfer point. It was at Roy Hanna, kind of in a neighborhood, and our drivers did not have anywhere to use the restroom down there. We moved that transfer point from Roy Hanna to that Bay Point Plaza at 54th Avenue South. So the 11, the 20, the 90, and the Spark service, they all ended at Publix at Bay Point Plaza on 54th Avenue South. The Route 20 is the route that now serves Pinellas Point. It goes from that Bay Point Plaza down through Roy Hanna and around Pinellas Point, and then it also connects to downtown. And I believe you said there were people transferring to get to Tyrone. They will have a time transfer from Route 20 to any of the 4 routes in downtown St. Petersburg going downtown.
That all sounds marvelous, but you have 0 markers out.
You're completely correct about
Yeah,
that.
so no one knows any of this, only you know it. But
are
thank you so
completely
much for
correct
sharing
about
it.
the signs.